everybody, and here we are back in the movie battleground. My name is Aaron Knoll, and I will be your host for today. Excited to be back doing what I like best, watching two people stress out over movie debating while I just sit here watching it all happen. Today we have two exciting competitors who are both currently 1-0 in the division. The winner of today will get themselves one step and one competitor closer to getting a shot at that movie battleground belt. Let's go ahead and get into introducing our two competitors. First, we have in the bottom corner with that record of 1-0. He is everyone's 457th favorite dad, Jacob West. How are we doing? The number's wrong, and you're going to school me on it, aren't you?
Well, no, I haven't checked the rankings in a hot minute. But man, I've fallen. I don't know what I did there to do that. But no, Aaron, I am doing good. I'm ready to get this show on the road.
All right, and next to him, we have his competitor tonight going with a nickname based around a great British film, Joe Farley. Is that correct?
Farrelly.
Farrelly.
Colin
Dang
Farrell
it.
with a Y.
To one of two pronunciations, I picked the wrong one. How you doing tonight, Joe?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's just gone 1 a.m. where I am, so I'm ready to do this. Hopefully get this over with, but knowing Papa West over there, this is going to be a long one.
Someone out there is going to make that dirty. I know they are. And tonight, though, we are not alone. I don't have to do the work anymore, and we have three judges here to make sure that this debate goes the way that it should. We'll go ahead and start with the man to my left. He is Jonathan, the Raptor Master Peck. Jonathan, how you doing?
Very good, Aaron. Very good. Know these two gentlemen at the bottom, and I judged their matches before. I know there are very, very smart guys right here around movies and around Battleground along with it. I saw personally myself, and they can be sometimes very demanding of the win sometimes. So you gotta watch out for these two right here. I believe it's going to be a very terrific match, and I'm very nervous, right, based on the questions alone. So hopefully it's going to live up to that.
All right, and to my right-hand side, we have our second judge tonight. I'm going to try and get this one right as well, Mr. Amaru Moses. How are we doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Very good job not trying to point, just right-hand, left-hand side. That's good hosting. And I'm excited for this one. My only two losses are in TMG at all are to these two gentlemen over here. So I know we're going to have a fight. I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
All right, and then in the bottom right-hand corner there, we have our third judge, Mr. Asher Berkson Gold. Asher, how are we doing tonight?
I'm pretty good. I like seeing grown men argue about things that aren't very important in the long run. So, I like movies too. So, sorry. I like seeing a bloodbath. So that's what I'm expecting to see. These two competitors are very good. I've seen them before, and I'm looking forward to hearing their arguments.
Absolutely. And while these competitors may not have only had one match in Movie Battleground, they've had plenty of matches in other leagues, so they know what to expect. They know the rules. You guys know the rules, but let's read them again just to be sure. There are going to be 4 rounds of open debate. Each one is going to get a 90-second opening. There will be 5 minutes of open debate, and then each person will get a 60-second closing. At that point, the 3 judges will write on their whiteboards or papers who their pick is, and they'll give a quick explanation as to why they picked them. For the judges, remember, try and keep that to about 30 seconds or less if possible. To the competitors, remember, guys, each of you do have one 1-minute extension that you can use for any opening or closing during the debate. Just let me know you want to use it before speaking if you decide to use it. We also have speed round rules should this main match end in a 2-2 score, but we'll explain those if we need to. With that being said, any questions for anyone involved? The silence says no. And with that, we will begin with our first question tonight. And in the category of action-adventure movies, we ask a question about a upcoming franchise. I was going to say trilogy, but what is the best action sequence in the John Wick series? And we're going to go ahead and start with Jacob? No, Joe. Again, 50-50 guess, and I got it wrong. We're going to go ahead and start with Joe on that 90-second opening. Let me know when your time starts when you begin speaking.
when it comes to picking the best action sequence in the John Wick franchise, there's a lot of choice. But for me, the best, the most memorable, and the most exciting is the scene in the Red Circle nightclub from the first John Wick movie. First, it starts very slowly and builds to an incredible climax. It was one of the first sequences. It was the first real sequence to show John Wick as vulnerable. I believe it has more stakes than any other action sequence in the franchise for that reason. And it's really the first action sequence where we really get to see John Wick do what he does best. And I'll go into a little bit more when we hit the 5-minute debate.
All right, short and sweet with the opening. Jacob, we're going to go ahead and move on to you for your 90 seconds.
Let's be honest here. John Wick does one thing great, and that is kill everyone in his sight. Not stealthily, but just action-packed, balls to the wall, however you want to categorize it. And there's really only one scene where this is seen. A little play on words there. And that is the museum fight in John Wick 2. John Wick, I didn't write the names down, so I forgot. He kills the guy's sister for the mark, and now he's going back to kill the guy because the guy destroyed his house. And he literally is only given a gun with 7 bullets. And you know it's going to be crazy when right off the bat he wastes all 7 bullets on 7 random guys. This is a lot of shooting, a lot of hitting people with his gun, pistol whipping, as some people like to say, and a lot of hand-to-hand combats. And one great thing is you can visually see all of it. It's not hard on your eyes like some other scenes can be. And it's really well paced too. It really goes from room to room of the museum very well. And then whenever you get to the Hall of Mirrors, the very end of the museum fight, it does drop in action, but the high tense of everything going on
And that is
just
time.
immediately shoots out.
All right, and after 2 solid openings from these gentlemen there, we're going to go ahead and get into your 5 minutes of open debate. Your time will start when the first one begins speaking.
So by this point in the franchise, in fact, throughout the franchise, we have seen John Wick take on handfuls upon handfuls of goons. And by the point in this movie, my movie that I'm talking about, we've just seen him take on a very small handful in his own house. But here's the moment where we really see what he's capable of, and he is ruthless. Everything from the choreography to the music is executed to perfection. The tension is immediately created when he enters that club and takes out Yusuf's protection. Yusuf runs, and then he enters the club, and that is when we are shown the utter ruthlessness of Wick. No quick cuts, just pure, unadulterated action. Hand-to-hand combat. Double taps, tap to head, tap to chest, that guard's taken out. Same again. And then it just carries on going. It's also perfectly executed.
It's not perfectly executed. It's not visually stunning. Because here's the great thing about this particular scene is while John Wick is fighting all the bodyguards, he's in a nightclub where the music is playing, which the music doesn't. It kind of works for what's going on. It's that high tempo music, but there's the flashing lights, and this might just be because I'm epileptic. It could be that I'm really sensitive to those kind of things. But just the constant flashing of lights, the changing in that level, the different colors going around, it really made that scene just hard to watch. And it really confused me too, because you went from John Wick doing stealth, killing all of Yusuf's guards, to next thing you know, he's in a room with about 100 people. It was just very confusing.
It's not confusing. The thing about that is it puts you in the head of John Wick. He is disoriented, and those flashing lights, you don't know where the goons are coming from. With your scene, you see every single goon coming, and you know that he's going to take them out. The thing with this one, we hadn't really seen what he was capable of yet. And it's just the first movie in the franchise. When they first made this, it was kind of just going to be a throwaway action movie. By the time it got to your movie, you knew John Wick was safe. At this point, you don't. And you can see it in the scene. When he gets hit, but he's got a bulletproof vest on. He gets thrown over the balcony. He gets injured, but he still carries on fighting. You just see how ruthless it is. By your scene, you don't fear for him anymore. And unlike a lot of scenes, unlike your scene, you have that crowd to contend with. You see how precise John Wick can be because he's got that crowd around him that he has to make sure, I know who I'm hitting. I'm hitting this guy. I'm hitting this guy. These are revelers. These are dancers. I cannot hit these people. And he does it to perfection. The music is such a big thing here as well. It is such a small element, but the way it grips you and makes you feel part of that action scene, it cannot be understated how good it is.
But again, you just said that you're being put into the mind of John Wick, so he's disoriented during this, so you're kind of disoriented, and that devalues the scene. Whereas with mine, literally, and again, you say his precision, you see precision in mine too, because he's in a party with 100 people. He gets eye contact with the bad guy, and then everyone just separates because they all know John Wick isn't back, but he's back. They know something's about to go down and they move. They're all still there, and it's the 50+ guys that work for the Italian guy, whatever his name is, attacking him. And you do kind of fear for his life because he had just gotten done taking on all the assassins on the subway. He's in a bulletproof suit. You see him bleeding. You see him cut up. And now he hasn't had time to rest. He hasn't had time to heal. And now he's going up against more men in the museum than he was with the nightclub.
But by this point in the franchise, you know that what John Wick is capable of because of what you've seen him do in my scene and on the subway. That's the thing. You know he's going to get Santino in the end. But here, you still have that, who is this guy? And you are figuring that out. The thing about a good action sequence, it needs to immerse you.
1 minute warning.
It needs to get your blood pumping. Your palms need to be sweaty, knees weak, arms sweaty, everything. Everything needs to be perfect for this action scene to work. And it does because you are immersed in it. The music, the flashing lights, the tension, everything about it. That small scene at the beginning when he's in the hot tub room and he's going stealthily for the guards, that is what pulls you in. That's what builds that tension slowly. And as you come into the nightclub and he starts taking out these guards left, right, and center, everything about it, the addition of the innocent members of the public and the lack of knowledge about Wick's abilities leads to a more tense and gripping scene and makes you want to know what's coming next. By this point in the second movie, you know what he's capable of, you know what he can do, and it's just guard after guard after guard, no real tension, no real stakes.
I mean, Joe, let's be honest. If you were watching the first John Wick and you see him fighting people in the nightclub, you're not thinking he's about to die. We've heard of all this mystery of him when he was previously with the mob.
That is time on the 5 minutes. So a good open debate round from the two gentlemen talking about their scenes. We're going to go ahead and get into 1 minute closings, and we're going to start with Jacob for that when you begin speaking.
Okay, so just like I was saying, you've heard all these stories how he killed all these men with a pencil in the first movie. So you're not really thinking he's going to die. You know he's going to be well. And with my scene, you're watching the entire movie, and it brings you. You are rooting for him during the movie, and then you're rooting for him to get his revenge. It brings you into it. It invests you into it. Let's be honest. We all know he's going to win because it's a movie. You can get yourself out of there. You're watching. He's going to win. Here's the thing. He fights more people in mine. He not just shoots people. It's hand-to-hand combat. There's a little bit of humor in there, too, when he's fighting the deaf girl and kills the deaf girl. That was actually a really sad scene in mine. And it looks really good. There's no flashing lights, so you aren't disoriented during everything. You can see everything. You can focus on everything. It is fantastic. With yours, he's disoriented. You're disoriented.
And that
it makes it a little hard
to. All right, and we'll go ahead and go to Joe. Your 1 minute begins when you begin speaking.
The reason my action scene is the best is purely because you do not know what John Wick is capable of by this point in the movie. Sure, you've heard stories, but he's been out of the business for a while, so you don't know exactly what he's capable of now, and that's what does it. I never thought for a second that he's going to die during this scene. You don't think it during your scene either, but you see him get injured, and you don't know how he's going to recover. You don't feel disoriented during this action scene. You feel immersed. Everything with the music, the lighting, the choreography, the fact that it's no quick cuts like you see in films like Taken 3. Everything about that immerses you into the scene, gets you hooked on the action, gets you gripped, gets your heart pumping, which is everything that a good action sequence needs to do. The museum scene is good, but it lacks that edge that is given to us in the first movie. It lacks Now we know what he's capable of. We know how hard he will go to get his revenge because of what we've seen in the first film, and that is why the scene in the Red Circle nightclub is superior and a better action scene than the one in the museum in John Wick 2. Everything about it, choreography, music,
and that is time. All right, so after a great first round, we're going to go ahead and give our judges a minute here to make their final decision. Just go ahead and let me know once you guys are ready, guys. So despite the fact that this show is about debating, I think we can make a call back to the end of that fight and all agree on one thing. Taken 3 is awful.
Yep.
All right, but once again, as always, a great round of debating from you two guys. Really intense.
Isn't there a moment in Taken 3 where he jumps a fence and it takes about 12 cuts for him to jump said fence?
I don't know, yeah, something ridiculous
Something
like that.
Yeah.
The moment where I stopped paying attention to the Taken franchise. Amaru is ready.
I'm ready too.
Jonathan's ready. Asher is ready. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with Jonathan. Who is your pick and why?
Very good arguments on your action scenes along with it, and especially with the museum fight and the nightclub fight along with that. And they put some good examples why their action scenes are basically very interesting on their own way. But I think the person for me who have maybe more better arguments and good counterpoints than the opponent has, and I'm going to go my first point into Joe, because he actually put out some great examples of some of the scene with here with the nightclub, basically to the execution scenes right here, the music right here, and basically sort of the mindset of John Wick, and basically sort of filling in the bravado of John Wick himself during the argument, and in some good counterpoints with Jacob's fight with the museum, though. So my point is to Joe.
All right, and we'll go ahead and go to Amaru next.
All right, this one was pretty close for me. For me, it kind of came down to Joe did a lot more of describing why his fight was better and had less counters. And Jacob had a good amount of counters, but a lot less of really explaining what his fight was about, except bullets and a pistol whip. So it was really hard because they were balanced. For me, right at the end, I think I have to go with being able to actually see the fight itself and know what it's like. So I went with Joe.
All right, so with that, we have 2 votes for Joe, which means he will get the point. But really quickly, Asher, do you want to explain where your vote would have gone?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good argument for both. Ultimately, it was going to go to Joe. I also wrote Joe because at the end, Joe kind of got me. I was waiting for like a counter from him to kind of seal it because he was talking so much about his movie and not that much about Jacob's scene. But in the end, the fact that he mentioned that the second one doesn't really have as much of an edge because you've seen it before based on his one kind of sold it to me. So that's why I was going to choose Joe.
All right.
Joe, yeah.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to the second question after a great first round. And with this, we're going to go ahead and move into a sci-fi question, with the question being, which sci-fi standalone film should get a sequel? And we're going to go ahead and start with Jacob on this one. Thank you for the subtle hints, gentlemen. I am catching on. We're going to have a minute a minute and a half on the clock for Mr. Papa West. When you begin speaking, your time will start.
It hasn't been that long since we have visited the world of Ready Player One. And I don't want it to be that long because Ready Player One needs to have a sequel. When we last left the Oasis, Percival and Artemis, I'm remembering these guys' name, had just found the last egg. So they got control, and all of the group of the High Five have control of the Oasis. And at the very end, we hear about what Percival has done to help the Oasis. he got rid of the IOI. He got rid of all the oh crap! This is something I should have wrote down. All those zones that they were running. And he also had that rule where every Tuesday and Thursday the Oasis was closed. So something that I would love to see is, after all these rules, how did this help the Oasis? But then, why does this have to be a sequel? And plain and simple, the IOI does not like that Percival is in control. They see the Oasis thriving, but they see a little bit of outcry because it's closed for 2 days, and no one wants to be in reality. Everyone wants to be in the Oasis. So the IOI is going to try to regain control. It's not going to be the same guy because Ben Mendelsohn's character is in jail. It's going to be a new big bad guy, but we get to see.
And that is time on your opening. But for the most part, we got that pitch in there. We're going to go ahead and go to Joe now for your opening, 90 seconds when you start speaking.
You know, Sci-Fi has given us a lot of great franchises over the years. It's also given us amazing one-offs that leave you clamoring for more. The thing about Sci-Fi that makes sequels so sought after is that they create a world or a concept that can be explored in so many ways. I think if we were arguing this 3 years ago, one of us would have picked Blade Runner. And the thing about Blade Runner 2049, it did something that a sequel should do, and it did it perfectly. But I believe that Inception is the perfect standalone sci-fi movie for a sequel. Happy 10th birthday to Inception as well. It creates such a unique concept that can be taken in so many different directions, and a sequel would delve deeper into that world that Nolan built. The thing about sequel is there needs to be a reason for it. There needs to be more to explore in the world that has been created. And Christopher Nolan's genius in the way he creates worlds creates so many, creates a world full of possibilities and unexplored territory. And it's a world that we only scratch the surface of. And there's so much more that can be explored. And I will explain how with the rest of my time.
All right. So once again, good openings, good pitches for these potential sequels. And the battle of Inception versus Ready Player One. Your 5 minutes begins when the first person speaks.
So, Joe, I will admit this. I had a lot of questions after I first watched Inception, and most of those are what in the crap did I just watch? So thankfully, after rewatch, I answered most of those questions. But there's only one question that I have after watching Inception, and that is Cobb dreaming or is he in real life? And that is not a question that you're going to build a sequel off of. And if you're going to build a sequel, you're going to need to answer that question.
Absolutely not, because the big question after Blade Runner is Deckard a replicant? And did Blade Runner 2049 answer that question? No, it did not. The point, and that's what it is. Some people even consider it to be better than the original Blade Runner. And that's what you look at Inception. You look at developing the world. The world is dreams, and in dreams, possibilities are endless. You could do anything here. You could bring back the old team. You could explore whether Cobb is in a dream or not. There's theories out there whether the whole movie is a dream, and the dream of his late wife, or is she dead? Played by Marion Cotillard. Could it be Ken Saito, played by Ken Watanabe, shows him how people spend their whole lives living in dreams because it's better. What happens when that person is unplugged, or what happens when somebody hacks into that dream? But you don't just have to do that. You don't even have to do a direct sequel. You could do anything. You can explore dreams. It could be a psychological horror, exploring the deep subconscious of some tortured person with mental health issues. It could delve deep into that. There's so much that you could do. You could have two new teams going after some MacGuffin, two new heist teams going after that MacGuffin into the dreams.
So what you're wanting to do, Joe, is you're wanting to create a spin-off series or a prequel or something like that. Not really a sequel. The question is, what should get a sequel? This is taking everything that's been built up and going off of that. With Inception, what you're pitching is in the same world, but something different, which is not a sequel, it's a spinoff.
It's 100% a sequel. The thing is, Christopher Nolan said it himself. He said that this world has infinitesimal possibilities, and that's what you want for a sequel. I mean, Ready Player One is a fun movie, but any sequel would seriously undermine all the work done by the first. What, you're going to have another evil corporation, or the same evil corporation?
Same evil corporation, different person.
The same evil corporation coming back? I mean, you saw so much of what was possible in your world, and what you want to do is have somebody come in and try and take over the Oasis. That's basically the same movie, isn't it? Because they want
And
to control
I mean,
the Oasis by going
you're
after the
wanting
Oasis.
to explore dreams, which is the same thing about Inception. Here's the great thing with Ready Player One, though, is it's not dreams, it's virtual reality, which everything is possible. You can explore these pre-built worlds and actually explore them a lot better. Like Dead World, you could have the final battle of this movie in Dead World, which is something we only saw for that long in the first movie. Let's explore this place. Let's explore all this stuff that's kind of been hinted at, but we're doing it with the same group, so it is a sequel.
But the question here was not pitch a sequel, it was which movie deserves a sequel. And the reason Inception deserves a sequel is because Christopher Nolan created a world full of so many possibilities, so many different avenues to explore, which I've already got into. You could do a psychological horror exploring some person with mental health issues, inner demons. You could have someone trapped inside somebody else's dream. It's different possibilities. Inception was about planting an idea in somebody's head. You could do a heist team where someone's trying to take something from their head. You could use Christopher Nolan's past actors to lead the two separate teams. You could have John David Washington and Hugh Jackman leading those teams. There's so much that you could do. But with Ready Player One, that movie was about an evil corporation trying to take over the Oasis, and Parsifal and his friends stopping that from happening. So what you want to do, what you're saying is the sequel would be the evil corporation wants to come and take over the Oasis and have Parsifal and his friends try and stop them. It's not original. It's the same. It's The Hangover Part 2.
And you just said that you could have a heist about planning stuff in people's dreams. That's exactly what they did in Inception.
I said taking stuff.
Okay. Very similar, though, to what happened in Inception. But see, here's the big thing. Ready Player One, you have Percival and the IOI both trying to get control. In my movie, you're going to have Percival in control, and you're going to have the IOI coming back and trying, sneaking around, kind of like Hydra did with S.H.I.E.L.D. Wouldn't that be a fun thing to watch? Hydra taking over S.H.I.E.L.D.? Well, guess what? You can have that in mind, Ready Player One, or as I like to call Ready Player Two, or whatever you want to call it. There are a million different opportunities. But again, this is a world that we want to see. With Inception, that door to that story was closed perfectly. I have one question. A sequel is not going to answer that one question.
And that is going to be time on your guys' 5 minutes. We're going to go ahead and move into the 1-minute closings. Joe, we start with you when you begin speaking.
As I already said, we don't need to answer the question from the first movie. I've cited Blade Runner 2049 as a perfect example of that. What my opponent here has pitched is a sequel that's almost identical to the first movie with a few small changes. He said there's a million possibilities and ways to go, but he's only given one. I've given numerous examples of the direction that a sequel could take. It was about what movie deserves a sequel, and that's what Inception does because of the world it created, because of all the different little things it showed about what was possible in this world, but only explored one avenue of it. A sequel could explore another avenue. It could explore a completely different avenue. It does not have to be about a heist. I said it could be about a heist. It doesn't have to be about a heist. It could explore someone's inner demons. It could explore, it could be a horror movie. It could be about it could be about exploring the subconscious. There are so many different possibilities that Inception creates that it makes it perfect for a sequel. We've only scratched the surface of what is possible in that world Nolan created, and it is just sitting there waiting for us to dig a little deeper. Christopher Nolan said
and that is going to be time on the closing. We're going to go ahead and switch over to Jacob, and when you begin speaking.
Yes, we have only scratched the surface of Inception. We've also only scratched the surface of Ready Player One. Both these movies have worlds that need to be explored. I would much rather see Inception as a spin-off, have other people there, other people exploring it, which is not a sequel, it is a spin-off. With Ready Player One, I fell in love with Percival and Artemis and the other group in the high five. I didn't write the names down. I'm sorry. H, that's one guy also. I fell in love with these characters. I want to learn more about them. That's what a sequel is. With your characters, the only person that you really liked was Cobb. If you're gonna answer the question of is he dreaming or is he in real life, half of the people are going to hate that answer. Well, yes, Blade Runner 2049 did not answer if Deckard was a replicant. He looked a lot older than he was in Blade Runner.
And that is going to be time on the closing. All right, so another heated debate between our two competitors. We're going to go ahead and let the judges have a minute to make their decision. Amari is already ready. Asher is ready. All right, I'll go ahead and start since Jonathan's ready. There we go. So, Amari, we're going to go ahead and start with you this time. Who is your pick to win this round?
I love both of these movies, and this is maybe like the third or fourth time where I had to hear somebody talk crap about Inception, my favorite movie of all time. So that hurts my soul. But to me, it was a lot of great counters in this one. And to me, what it came down to was I could not shake a spin-off series is not a sequel. That was the one extra one that just captured it for me. And Joe, I didn't hear anything too much to kill that. So I'm going with Papa West.
All right, Jacob takes the vote there. Asher, we move on to you. Who's going to take your vote for this round?
This is an interesting one. I thought, it was very balanced between the two. I thought a knockout punch would have been if Papa West just said Tenet is coming out, which is using a lot of elements from Inception, which would have been nice. I know, which would have been nice, but he didn't say it. But beyond that, the whole spin-off thing that he'd like to see instead of the sequel, I thought was good. I liked what Joe was doing, knocking down the same kind of storyline. But ultimately, I think that what Papa West said kind of held weight. It sounds a lot like a Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. situation that he's going. And at the same time, all of these different opportunities versus the characters that are in Ready Player One, and it's just Cobb, and you're kind of... So I chose Papa West for that reason, too.
All right, so that's going to be 2 votes to Jacob, which means he will take the point. Jonathan, if you want to real quickly just tell us who you voted for and why.
Funny enough, I was actually on the other side. My point would have gone to Joe. At least he put up some examples of more why the sequel could work, though. And basically, my point would have gone to Joe, but I felt like, funny enough, what Asher pointed out was on the cap puncher here. Mine is sort of same thing, but in reverse, because if Joe could have brought up sort of another, arguably a sci-fi Spielberg film, and some examples they didn't work though, like The Lost World, sequel to Jurassic Park, or even sequels based on Spielberg films right here. I could have wished he could have knocked out very early on though, but he even pointed out some great points right here why his sequel to the session could work though. So my point could have gone to Joe, but it's okay.
All right, and so with that, the majority says... Okay, and so with that, the majority says that this game is going to be 1 point to both sides, both competitors fighting hard. As we're going to go ahead and move into the third question here, which focuses on the decade of the 90s. And the question at hand is, which actor had the most successful run of films in the 90s? And the caveat with this was at least 5 films released in the 90s that you can string some sort of consistent success through. And we're going to go ahead and start with Joe on this one. So, Joe, for that first 90 seconds, it is all yours.
Success. Everybody wants it, few achieve it. That's why Papa West and I are here. But when asked who had the most successful run in the 90s, the answer is without doubt, without question, and by whatever criteria you judge success, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks defines movies in the 1990s. He is undisputed in terms of success. Awards, reviews, box office, longevity. Hanks has it all, and especially in the 1990s. I think Tom Hanks, you look at him and you think, any movie you think of, Tom Hanks, 99% of them came out in the 1990s. And it's not just because you remember him. It's because of what he did, what the movies are, what they achieved. Everything about Tom Hanks in the 90s, not just himself, but the movies he was in, the movie he directed. Everything about Tom Hanks in the 90s is success. And I will explain why during the debate.
All right, so we'll go ahead and go to Jacob for your opening then. Time starts and you begin speaking.
So the actor that I chose had a fantastic 80s. most people thought he was going to be done after the 80s because there's no way after all the success he had that he would have anywhere near as much success. And you know what? He proved everybody wrong. 1990, Presumed Innocent. 1991, Regarding Henry. 1992, Patriot Games. 1993, The Fugitive. 1994, Jimmy Hollywood and Clear and Present Danger. 1995, Sabrina. 1997, The Devil's Own and Air Force One. 1998, 6 Days, 7 Nights. And 1999, Random Hearts. If you have not figured out who I am talking about, Google it, because I am talking about Harrison Ford, Mr. Han Solo himself, Mr. Indiana Jones himself. Again, when you think of him, you think of his 80s roles, and you think, hey, there's no way that he could do anywhere near as good as he did in the 80s. And let's be honest, that's incorrect, because not only did he have a great 80s, he had a great 90s. He pretty much owned most of our childhoods, which is a little scary, but not. Harrison Ford can be my dad any day. Time.
All right, and as we move into the 5-minute debate, you guys have heard it here first. Harrison Ford is the Papa's Papa.
I wish he was the Papa's Papa.
All right, gentlemen, you guys will get 5 minutes on the clock. Time starts when one of you speaks.
Okay, let's start with numbers, shall we? Let's start with Rotten Tomatoes. Tom Hanks, 13 movies in the 1990s. 14 movies in the 1990s. Highest, 100%. Lowest, 16%. That's an average Rotten Tomatoes scores. I calculated them all, 67%. You remove the uncredited appearance from Radio Fly, and it's 70%. Harrison Ford, 11 movies, average score, 56%. That's rotten. Oscars, 3 nominations and 2 wins for Hanks. No nominations for Ford. And it's not just their performances. Let's look at box office. Total budget for Tom Hanks' 14 movies in the 1990s was $642 million, with a total worldwide gross of $3.6 billion. 5 times. They say you have to make 3 times your budget back to be a success. Harrison Ford, combined budget of $655 million with a gross of $1.7 billion. That's just over double. By any metric by which you judge success, Tom Hanks tops the 90s, and he definitely tops Harrison Ford. You said it yourself. Han Solo and Indiana Jones, 80s characters. You don't really think of Richard Kimball or James Marshall. You think of Indiana Jones and Han Solo.
Joe, I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea what about half of that stuff you said was, because you talk funny and you talk really fast. No, I'm kidding, Joe. I love you. See, here's the thing with Tom Hanks. Well, yes, Tom Hanks was in a lot of movies in the 90s. He had some really good ones, including one of my personal favorite movies, Forrest Gump. Also, yeah, you said League of Their Own. He had some really good movies, but he also had some really, 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 really bad movies. I mean, even in your numbers, you took out Radio Flyer, because Radio Flyer is not that great of a movie. You've Got Mail, not that great of a movie. That Thing You Do, The Bonfires of the Vanities. He had not a lot of great movies, but also, if you look at those movies, he never carried a movie. I mean, Forrest Gump, you do not have that movie without Jenny, without his mom. He might be the best part of that movie, Lieutenant Dan, Bubba. He's in a lot of ensemble movies. Whereas with Harrison Ford, he took those movies and he ran with them. And he's in a lot of variation. Air Force One, he's the President of the United States, kicking terrorist ass, something a president has never done. The Fugitive, he's a man on the run. Sabrina, he's just a normal dad. He has a lot of range, which is something Tom Hanks really doesn't have a lot of in 90s movies.
You want to talk about carrying a movie. You want to talk about You've Got Mail being awful. The lowest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes for Tom Hanks in the 90s is 67%. You mentioned Jimmy Hollywood. I believe that's somewhere around 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. And you're talking about not being able to carry a movie. Then why does Harrison Ford have no nominations, no Oscar nominations in the 1990s? Tom Hanks has 3, and he won 2 of them, for Forrest Gump and for Philadelphia. And it's who had the greatest success by every metric. Reviews, box office, awards. He has that success. You say he can't carry a movie. Toy Story, Apollo 13, Saving Private Ryan, The Green Mile, A League of Their Own. He even directed That Thing You Do. This is the thing with Ford. It's Air Force One and The Fugitive. 2 great movies surrounded by a lot of mediocrity. Every single metric. Tom Hanks dwarfs Harrison Ford. Look at these movies and tell me which ones are more beloved today. Tom Hanks not only had a more successful decade than Ford, but was one of, if not the most successful actor of the 1990s.
So are you saying that the Oscars are the end-all be-all on anything? Because if you ask me what movie is better, Saving Private Ryan or Shakespeare in Love, I'm going to say Saving Private Ryan. Oh, but wait, that's wrong because Saving Private Ryan didn't win the Oscar that year. See, the Oscars can get stuff wrong. And while, yes, Harrison Ford was not nominated for an Oscar, he was nominated for 2 Golden Globes. So he does have some nominations there. And plus, I mean, I'm a little upset. You said take away Air Force One and The Fugitive, you don't have anything. Patriot Games is amazing. Clear and Present Danger, amazing. Sabrina, one of the second movies that he was nominated for Best Actor. I mean, it's not amazing at the same tier that The Fugitive and Air Force One because it's not an action movie. It's more of like a rom-com. It's actually a really good movie. With Tom Hanks, you just have a lot of drama. You have him as the main actor in ensemble movies, and it's nothing new.
This isn't an argument about who was the best actor or who had the most variation in the 1990s. It was who was the most successful. And Tom Hanks was the most successful by every metric. And you can say the Oscars get it wrong. Yeah, they do get it wrong sometimes. But here's the thing. Out of these 14 movies, Tom Hanks is 14 movies, 49 Oscar nominations, 15 wins, 4 Best Picture nominations, 1 Best Picture
And
winner,
that is going to be time.
You don't get to say that.
That is time on the main fight. We're going to go ahead and move into our minute-long closings. Jacob, we're going to go ahead and start with you.
So yes, the 90s had a lot of great movies. And I'm sorry that the Academy does not agree with me. We're not on speaking terms all the time. And there's a reason why. Harrison Ford had a very surprising 90s because a lot of people thought he was just going to phone it in. He already has the success of Indiana Jones. He has the success of Star Wars. He doesn't need to act anymore. But he did. Some of the greatest performances, some of the most underrated, unfortunately, come out of the 90s. With Tom Hanks, when I think of Tom Hanks, I think of 2000s movies. His best performance, Castaway, came out in 2000. Whereas with Harrison Ford, well, yes, his best performances weren't in the 90s. He has some great performances, some great lines. Get the hell off my plane. That happened in the 90s. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. The Fugitive. That happened in the 90s. Really a very quiet year.
And that is
time.
That is going to be time on the closings. We're going to go ahead and go to Joe to finish this one out. 1 minute when you start speaking.
Can I use my extension, please?
No.
Yes, you can. Sorry, Jacob. So you're going to go ahead and go to 2 minutes for a closing. Time starts when you start speaking.
I've already shown how every metric by which we judge success shows Tom Hanks, and it's not just the Academy. The box office numbers says it too. Tom Hanks' movies made 5 times their budget back combined, whereas Harrison Ford only made just over double. They say in the movies that you have to make at least 3 times your budget back to be considered a success, and Tom Hanks' movies don't do that. Even in your closing argument, you almost called him indie because he's more remembered from his 80s movies than he is his 90s. You said the wrong quote. It's "get off my plane," not "get the hell off my plane." The iconic quote from The Fugitive, it's the "I don't care" from Tommy Lee Jones. Tom Hanks has always been the man of the 90s. You say Castaway is his best performance. It's a very, very good performance. But to say he's not remembered for his 90s movies is just completely missing the point. I've already said Toy Story, Apollo 13, Saving Private Ryan, The Green Mile, A League of Their Own, That Thing You Do, You've Got Mail. Everything about Tom Hanks in the 90s screams success. And like I said, it's not just the Academy. It is the box office. It is the critics, fans, critics, the Academy, the other award. Not just the Academy, the other awards. Every single person recognized how good Tom Hanks was, and not just Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks movies were in the 90s. The question was who had the most successful run of films. And throughout the 90s, Tom Hanks screamed success. The films of Harrison Ford's performances may have been good, but the films themselves were not as successful as Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks's films dwarf the success of Harrison Ford's, and I've shown that through the use of my numbers and just through the use of what you remember. Listen to those movies that I've listed compared to what he listed when you think of movies in the 1990s. which ones were more successful. You think about Toy Story, you think about The Green Mile, amazing performances, voice performances, kids movies, family movies, more adult swim movies, war movies. He had that variation that Harrison Ford had, but he had it in a more successful way, and that is what is key here.
All right, Asher gives the thumbs up. I saw Amara give the thumbs up. Jonathan, are we ready?
Hold on.
Still thinking while Jacob readies his pistol for anyone who doesn't vote for him.
No, I'm gonna shoot myself because I misread this question when it was first put up there. I thought this was the action adventure question. Tom Hanks is my favorite actor. Forrest Gump is one of my favorite movies.
You're not doing yourself favors, dude.
It's not in the fight. You can't count it. You're technically
Exactly. We're done with it. I can say whatever I want now.
I
They
respect
already
it.
gave their thumbs, so
Yeah, that is fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
Yeah, Jonathan, you're good to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and start with Mr. You're not doing yourself any favors. Asher, what's your vote going to?
Yeah, Joe didn't need the extension. He would have won it anyway. I mean, like, Harrison Ford, you kept stumbling over the fact that, yeah, his greatest characters were from the 80s and 70s, and, you know, Tom Hanks owned the 90s in every stat that he said. One thing I would have liked to see was Jim Carrey be brought up, because I thought that would have been a good fight, but ultimately I think Joe just ended up mopping the floor, and I understand now that you misread the question. That makes a lot more sense. So I chose Joe.
All right, so the first vote's going to go to Joe. Jonathan, who is your vote going to?
Before I put my answer, I did some quick fact checking of both the movies you just mentioned based on Rotten Tomato ratings. Radio Flyer of Hanks is 33%, and Papa I Suspect with Jimmy Hollywood right here, which is around like 22%. Which, to be fair, both of those movies, they're basically cameo roles, so I want to put that in consideration anyway, so I just want to put that out there. All right. Mine, I sort of no-brainer for me, based on the arguments pointed out and not. I want to give my point to Joe. But everything he said about with Tom Hanks, though, based on the films, the claim, box office, response to fans everywhere right here. You even put some luck with Harrison Ford right here. He had some 1 2 right here. But it doesn't have sort of more contain like yearly, year after yearly right here, even some knock to some film. So I'm going to give my point to Joe.
All right, so with that, the point is going to go to Joe, but we're going to go ahead and let Amaru quickly say who he would have voted for and why.
Will Smith, Denzel Washington.
Yeah. Not in any action adventure movies, though.
Wild
was
West.
not the question until.
Wild West.
I like Amaru's reasoning for his pick. It was great. All right. And Joe wins by writing a research paper.
What?
What's that?
I did all that math and you misread the question.
100%. Because I was thinking Tom Hanks is the easy answer. Wait, he's not in any action adventure movies. Who's in action adventure movies? Harrison Ford is.
Oh.
And then like a week later, I'm like, oh crap, that's the 90s question. That's not the action adventure question. This is going to be fun.
You gave it your best bet, and we're going to go ahead.
Counted me. There were some good counters in there, man. Seriously.
So we're going to go ahead and move into question number 4. And in the category of comedy films, I swear to you, we could not get more broad if we tried. What was the best moment in any comedy film? And we're going to go ahead and start with Jacob on this one for that minute-and-a-half intro. Remember, Jacob, you do still have your extension if you'd like to use it this round.
No.
Was that a yes? No?
No.
No?
That was me
Okay.
waving my fingers in excitement.
All right. Well, you do have it if you want it, but we're going to go ahead and start with you. That minute-and-a-half is on the clock.
I will not bow down to any corporate sponsor. I'm not going to finish the quote because it's a long quote. But the quote is from the beloved Wayne's World. And what is happening is Wayne and Garth are talking with an executive about, hey, y'all are going to have to do some product advertisement, product placement. And Wayne, in an amazing quote, talking about how product placement, selling your soul to corporations, all this stuff that we see in almost every movie now, is one of the worst things you could ever do. And it's hilarious because while he's doing it, he's holding up a Pepsi can. He's holding up a Pizza Hut pizza. He's holding a bag of Doritos. Garth comes in wearing all Reebok. Shirt, jacket, pants, shoes, the little headbands. They're obviously pointing out the satire in the world of product placement and subliminal messaging. And it was way ahead of its time. Because, I mean, if you look at it, every movie now has way too much product placement. It was a hilarious joke then. It is the best meta joke now. It is the best moment in a comedy
And that is going to
film.
be time on the opening. Got it in under the wire there. We're going to go ahead and go to Joe for your minute and a half. Time starts when you speak.
More than any other movie genre, comedy is the most divisive, and that is because comedy is subjective. But at its heart, comedy is there to make us laugh, make us smile, and make us feel good. And it teaches us one important lesson. Some things in life are bad. They can really make you mad. Other things just make you swear and curse. Always look on the bright side of life. The musical closing number from Monty Python's The Life of Brian. This is a moment that even after 41 years still holds up. It's still funny and it's still considered one of the best moments in any comedy. At the time, it was controversial. Comedy can be controversial. And the thing about this moment is that it just defines what comedy should be, what it should do, and what it means to those who enjoy comedy. Look on the bright side of life. And that's all we can really do at the moment. I'm good for time.
All right. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and get into our final 5-minute debate. The time will begin when the first one of you speaks.
So again, Joe, you bring up the controversy of this scene. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the better scenes of the movie. I'm not gonna say the best. If only people sat around through the rest of the movie to watch it. The movie is just weird. It's a very controversial movie that a lot of people just couldn't get through. The placement of it is in a great spot, and that really hurts the scene in and of itself. Whereas with the scene in Wayne's World, it's like right smack dab in the middle. So no one's leaving with anything that's happening before it because it's really hilarious before it. This perfect exclamation point happens, and then it keeps going and it's still hilarious. People aren't leaving. People left because of the controversy of Life of Brian. So they didn't get to enjoy this scene, and it does knock it down a little bit.
People didn't leave because of the controversy of the scene. Religious groups boycotted this movie because of the controversy of this scene, but the people who understood comedy, who understood what Monty Python were about and what this moment was about, were still sitting there when this moment happened. Look, your joke's funny. It's a good visual gag. It's good satire. But the problem is, it's kind of like, you get it? You get it? Have you got it yet? Have you got it yet? I mean, it could have stopped after the Pizza Hut plug, but it goes on with the Doritos and the Reebok and the aspirin and the Pepsi. It goes on too long, and it's not even the greatest, almost iconic scene from Wayne's World. You know, singing Bohemian Rhapsody is far, far more memorable. But with this, you get a great musical number that encapsulates what comedy is for, and that is why it is the best. Yours is a good joke. It's a funny joke, but not just me, but what is considered to be some of the greatest moments in some of the greatest comedies. It's always look on the bright side of life. It encapsulates what comedy should be, what it's for. It's for making people look on the bright side of life. I'm not saying yours isn't a funny gag. I'm just saying it's just a funny gag.
It is 100% not just a funny gag. It is perfect satire because you can even see when wow, I just blanked on their actual names. When Wayne and Garth are promoting the products, you see the cheesy smile on their faces. You see the satire that's going on. It's perfect satire. It's not, hey, do you get it? We're making a joke. Okay, we're gonna throw it in your face again. It's satire. It's supposed to be. That's why The Onion is one of the best-selling newspapers because of satire. With The Life of Brian, when I think of The Life of Brian, I think of Biggest Dickus. I don't think of Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. And yes, you can say that Bohemian Rhapsody is a better scene in Wayne's World. If you have not watched all of Wayne's World, if you have only watched Bohemian Rhapsody, yes, you are right. Bohemian Rhapsody is the best part. But if you have seen the entirety of Wayne's World and get that comedy and get comedy in general, my scene is definitely the better scene. My scene is also a comedy scene. Your scene is just a bad musical.
It's not a bad musical. It is a funny scene. After all this, after everything's gone through, after all Brian has gone through, everything that is shown about trying to understand, trying to get past these religious people trying to cram their agenda down the throats of the people in that country in Life of Brian. They just sit there and they just sing together because that is what comedy is. I mean, the Wayne's World moment, like I said, it's funny, but to call this the best moment in any comedy and ignoring moments like Always Look on the Bright Side of Life from Life of Brian, the landing of the plane from Airplane, the news team fight from Anchorman, the most annoying sound of the world from Dumb and Dumber, meeting girls in the club from Coming to America. You ignore so many great comedy moments to pick what I think you've chosen is your favorite gag from your favorite comedy.
It's the best gag from the movie. It's the best moment. You can keep saying it's not and that Bohemian Rhapsody is better. In an actual comedy, what is the funnier scene? What makes a comedy a comedy? It's people laughing.
1 minute warning.
When you watch Life of Brian, you watch 5 people say, "Oh, we'll always look on the bright side of life. Look on the bright side of life," and then they start singing. It's weird. With Wayne's World, it's the slap you in the face satire, which makes a comedy a comedy.
That's the problem with it. It slaps you in the face with it. It's a really funny joke if he just holds up the pizza and then Garth walks in the Reebok. But it carries on by doing so much. It literally is saying, "Come on, you got it now. Surely you've got this joke now. Oh, it's funny now. Oh no, it's lost its humor. You did one. You did probably 2, 3 too many there. But with Life of Brian, it's not just about being a funny moment within the film. It's about defining what comedy is. It's about making their audience sit there, look at what they've seen, look at the movie that they've watched, and realize that is the point. Look on the bright side of life.
And that is going to be time on our round. That is time on the round. We have 1 final minute for both competitors. We're going to go ahead and start with Joe first on the closing. Time starts when you start speaking.
With this great musical number to close off one of the greatest comedies of all time, you get a scene, you end the film on a perfect note that literally defines what comedy is about looking on the bright side of life. What I fear my opponent has done here is pick his favorite joke from his favorite comedy, and his judgment has been clouded by bias. I love Life of Brian, but it's not my favorite comedy. But this moment and what it means and what it represents is what makes it the best. 41 years, it still holds up. This moment still holds up. It makes you laugh. It makes you realize what comedy is about. But his moment, it goes on too long. It hits you over the head with a repetitive joke. It's funny once, but it repeats itself, and it repeats itself all in the space of about 30 seconds. It repeats the same joke 5 or 6 times, and that is not what makes a moment funny. A moment is that you can enjoy. It's something that you can immerse yourself in and just feel good about. That's what comedy is. It's about feeling good. It's about not being sad, not being mad. It's about looking on the bright side of life, which is what this moment does, and it's what it encapsulates about comedy. But this moment,
and that is time. All right, and we're going to go ahead and go to Jacob. Your closing starts when you begin speaking.
I'm going to go ahead and throw in my extra minute here. Just going to be 2 minutes.
Absolutely. So 2 minutes on the clock when you begin speaking.
So, Joe, you talk about how mine is just beat you in the head. This funny joke. Okay, we're going to say it again. We're going to say it again. Nothing's beating you over the head. Like literally 5 different people saying, "Look on the bright side of life." And then they break into a musical number where the only words are, "Always look on the bright side of life." That's my lame attempt at whistling. And they keep saying it over and over and over again. It's a bad musical. It's an annoying song. It's not a great moment. It's not comedic. The movie's good. I'll give you that. The movie's good. But when it ends in that, it does kind of ruin it. The reason they are beating you over the face with the product placement joke is because product placement is beaten in your face in every single movie. Look at Jurassic World. There's that one scene where the pterodactyls are attacking everyone. There's like 50 different businesses in that area. That area is the size of a small shopping mall. You can't have 50 businesses there. All the Transformers movies are fighting. Here, we're going to flash Bud Lights. Fighting some more. Hey, here's Bud Light again. We're going to fight some more. Coca-Cola, it's making fun of product placement, which is beaten over our head already. So they're beating you over the head with it by making fun of they're making fun of it by beating you over the head with it because it's already beaten over the head. Again, this is a joke that was way ahead of its time. I want to see this in a new movie because of how fantastic this was. And it's sad because we had this joke. We knew this was happening, and we didn't fix it. Because the two movies that I just said that beat you over the head with subliminal messaging and product placement are 2010 movies. They just recently came out. Wow. It's like America is really screwing the pooch on a lot of stuff. It's
And
really
that is
sad.
going to be time on your 2 minutes. And with that, we'll go ahead and let the judges make their final decision, as that is the final main round in this battle. No matter where this goes, Amaru's ready, Asher's ready, Jonathan is ready. Then fuck what I was going to say. Let's let them talk. Jonathan, you're going to go ahead and go first. Quickly tell us who you picked and why you picked them.
Full disclosure, I love both these scenes. I think they're literally well done scenes in general, and some of my favorite parts of each of both your picks on your movies. With that being said, the person that swayed me the most, I'm going to give my point to Jake because he put some examples why this scene was ahead of his time. It was a perfect satire that how he plays during the joke, and he had to based on sort of the facial faces when Wayne and Gar expressed it during the joke with it. Even after on, I think they'll understand the joke. When Waynesville did it, it sort of made fun very doing the joke but an earnest way with it. With Joe's was like a Brian though. It was sort of a great moment right here. And I do love Joe's point with comedy subjective right here. Yeah, it's true. But I didn't hear enough of you sort of why brings it up sort of a little bit more subjectively. Why is it sort of not only sort of laughs itself, but sort of I might say this very carefully, bring that to a little balance right here. And the scene was not only sort of funny along with that. So I didn't hear enough of Joe's of why sort of the bright side laughed a little bit more than the product placement wings were. So I'm gonna give my point to Jacob. It was a very close one.
All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and go to Amaru.
Yeah, Papa West had me from the beginning with ahead of his time, and Joe, your one attack about it going too long. I feel like he countered really well with Dana Carvey, and I'm also blanking on his real name for Wayne
Mike
right
Myers.
now as well, as how they were smiling. Thank you, Mike Myers. But in the end, when you said what makes a comedy is laughter, that really got it for me. So I'm going with Papa West.
All right, Asher, really quick, if you want, you can go ahead and give your answer and who won.
Okay, well, the funniest thing that happened during this was what you said, Aaron. Fuck was I was going to say. Honestly, it's funnier than those two moments that they just discussed. They could have done other things from those movies that I think were better. But honestly, it was going to go to Papa West, mainly because Joe's argument was really about the essence of comedy, but the fact that comedy's evolved so much, and the fact that Papa West described what satire is and how it was ahead of its time and what it did was great, and the counter with the beating over the head thing was really great too. It just all culminated in Papa West getting this W. So speed round, yay.
All right, and he is correct with that. Our final score after 4 main rounds is 2-2, which means we are going to go ahead and move into our final decision maker, the speed round. These competitors all know how that works, but to go ahead and explain to you guys, there's going to be 3 rounds of discussion for the competitors. The first will be a 45-second opening, the second will be a 30-second rebuttal, and the third is going to be a 20-second closing. Neither of these competitors have heard their question. The competitor that goes first will be based on whoever answers first. Are the rules understood?
Don't forget, like after you say the question twice, the one to play say their name and then explain their answer.
Yeah.
Stormy. All right.
All right. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Your speed round question is, Besides Rocky and Rambo, what Stallone character would win in an all-out battle royale? To go ahead and repeat that for you guys once again. Besides Rocky and Rambo, what Stallone character would win in an all-out battle royale?
Jacob.
All right, Jacob, go ahead.
Barney Ross from The Expendables.
All right, so we have Jacob's answer of Barney Ross. Joe, once you have your answer, we will start.
Okay, I think I've got one.
All right, go ahead.
Staccato Gord from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
All right, two interesting characters. We have Sylvester Stallone from The Expendables versus Sylvester Stallone from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in an all-out death battle. We're going to go ahead and start with Jacob. You get 45 seconds on the clock to start when you begin speaking.
Yes, we are in an all-out death brawl. So I'm going to pick the character who, in all three of his movies, he is in an all-out death brawl. You think of The Expendables, it's a lot like John Wick, where it's non-stop action, and Sylvester Stallone is the main guy in it. He shoots off thousands of rounds of ammunition, beats up millions of people. It's pretty much just like a Rambo movie. I think better. So definitely Barney Ross. I'd take him any day over anyone, even Rambo, way over Rambo. He is unbeatable. He is a killer, and he can beat
and that
anyone
is time
any day.
On your 45. We're going to go ahead and go to Joe. Your 45 starts and you begin speaking.
Staccato Gord is a ravager. He doesn't care about the rules. He just cares about getting the job done. He has got infinite technology at his disposal. This is a battle royale. There are no rules here. He's got a spaceship. He's got weapons. The weapons that can outdo any Earth weapon. The thing about Staccato Gord is that he is a badass. You see the way he tears down Yondu on that planet in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. He is a badass. He is tough. He is hard. And he can take on anybody. He can take on anybody, and he can certainly take on any of Sylvester Stallone's other characters because he has the technology, he has the alien advantage because we do not know what his weaknesses are. He's an alien. We do not know what his weaknesses are. We know what he's capable of, but we do not know what it will take to beat him, and that is why.
And that is time on the 45 seconds. We're going to go ahead and go to 30-second rebuttals back to Jacob.
Here's the thing with Sakaar. We do not know his weaknesses because we have never seen him fight. We hear Yondu praise how good he is. Let's be honest. We've never seen him fight. We've never seen him pull a weapon. We've never seen him actually in the heat of the moment. I don't know how well he would do in an actual fight. He's alive, yes, but it doesn't mean that he's going to be the one and all in a battle royal. Whereas Barney Ross,
and that is time.
Him fight.
That is 30 seconds. 30 seconds for Joe.
We've seen Barney Ross fight. We'll tell you what we have seen. We have seen him fight with a team. He's always going to have a team. He has to have the Expendables. They have his back all the time. But this is a one-on-one. Staccato Gord has the technology. He has the spaceship. He can blast him out of the goddamn sky. And you're right. We haven't seen him fight. We've heard Yondu speak about him, and we know that that is enough. The respect that every single one of the Ravagers has for him, they have that respect for a reason because he's a badass. The thing is, he will take out Barney Ross because Barney Ross does not have the protection of the Expendables this time. Staccato Gord is a badass. You know it from his reputation. That's all you need is that reputation. He's a wild card in this situation because you do not know.
And that is going to be time on the second part of the speed round as we go ahead and move into our final 20 seconds of this battle. Jacob, when you speak.
Exactly. You've heard all of this from him, but he's always with his team as well, talking about Sakaar. Whenever he's using his ship, he's piloting. He has gunners. He is not alone. So I don't see how well he can do alone. Barney Ross, you've seen him alone. You know, hey, he can handle himself.
And that is time on the 20 seconds. All right, Joe, final 20 seconds when you begin speaking.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 shows what it takes to become a leader of a Ravager. It took a mutiny. It took murder of hundreds of Ravagers just to become the leader of a faction. And you know from the respect and the fear that Yondu has for Staccato Gord, how dangerous Staccato Gord could be. The Expendables are not going to be there. They're not going to be there to protect him. But Staccato Gord could do it on his own because he reached the top level of the Ravengers, of his faction.
And that is
That's
time
why
on your
it's
20 seconds. All right, so with that, we're going to let our judges make their decision real quickly. Once again, guys, no matter where this goes, both of you gave it your all. Great fights, and definitely we'll see more of you going forward. But this will decide who we'll see first. Jonathan is ready. How are you guys feeling after that? Seems intense.
exhausted.
I have Always Look on the Bright Side of Life stuck in my head because I love that song, but it gets stuck in your head really easily.
To be fair to you, Joe, isn't it like 2 a.m. now?
20 past, yeah.
Yeah. Amaru is ready. Asher, are we ready? We are ready. So we're going to go ahead and start with Amaru on this one. Quickly, who did you pick for the win?
This was the closest out of every round we've had. It was basically a tie for me till the end. It was Joe got me with the tech, while Papa West got me with everything that Barney Ross can do, but we haven't seen proof from Stakar. What got me in the end was you have to be able to go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to become a leader of that caliber. So I gave it to Joe.
All right, Joe gets the first vote here. We're going to go ahead and go to Asher next. Who takes your point?
Well, I'm very shocked neither of you said Judge Dredd because he is above the law. Oh, he is the law. I am the law. Yeah, sorry, I butchered the quote, but I thought Judge Dredd or Tango would have been better. But this is an incredible fight. Rue is correct. This is the best one of the night. You guys went back and forth for me. I loved Joe's points about as the lead Ravager. We know how hard it is for him to fight to the top to get to that spot and the tech that he has. I'm going to give it to Jacob because I think that he did say and he did counter that we have seen Barney Ross fight alone. We have not seen Stakar fight by himself, and the Rambo-like similarities also are pretty apparent. So I'm going to give it to Papa West on this.
All right, and so with that, we move over to the Raptor Master, making the decision of the night. Who wins this round and the fight?
Okay. All right. All right. I was thinking the thing I came out of this is based on the question itself. It's all about Royale. It sort of basically is think about all about Royale in general. You don't have anything else. It's just no rules in general. That's why I keep that in mind. But the person that, based on their arguments right here, that based around that question, is Joe. Because he put out some examples that is basically saying there's sort of no rules on the Battle Royale. You can show so many times that Stakar is a leader right here. It basically sort of the knowledge along with that. And also his counter to Papa West that basically most of Barney Ross's fights and mainly along with the group right here basically help him out when most of his fights. So I think Joe put some examples the why Stakar might potentially win a Battle Royale is sort of like the tech, the know-how, all that stuff right here. So we'll give my point to Joe.
All right, and with that, tonight, your guys' winner is Joe Fairley by a score of 3-2. Both of you guys take a big bow for yourselves. You both did great. Joe, I'll let you breathe for a second. We'll go ahead and talk to Jacob first. Jacob, obviously never fun to lose, but I definitely put up some great fights tonight. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm feeling good. Joe is a champion in another league for a reason, so I knew it was going to be tough. I wasn't able to study as much as I wanted to. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. So I was not feeling as confident. Again, I shot myself in the foot on question 3, so I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. But no, that was a lot of fun. I cannot wait to get my redemption, though, Joe.
All right, and so before we move on, Jacob, with a record now in Movie Battleground of 1 win, 1 loss, you're still in a very good position to rebound yourself back and put yourself up there once again. So is there anyone you can think of that would be about your rank that you'd want to try and take on?
I have no idea about ranking, but I've already called him out once, so I'm going to call him out again. Rhino Regan. I want that booty.
Late night on Movie Battleground it is. We're going to go ahead and move on to our winner today, Joe Fairley, breathing heavy, using the rag, palms sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. How are we feeling?
The worst part about this is I can't hear Jonathan. I haven't been able to hear him the whole match, but I know how much of a pain it is to jump out and come back in. So until you announced who the winner was, I had no idea what he'd actually said. So that was really torturous.
You hear me now?
But,
you hear me?
Going to like Ashes said, I did consider Dread. I did consider it, but it came down to something of what can I argue better. And for anyone who knows me knows that I am a geek player, and I've seen Guardians more than I've seen Judge Dredd, so it had to be something I knew. I had to be able to argue something I knew and could argue, so I did consider it. But yeah, sometimes you go into this you have your arguments and you look at what you've written and you go, I should win that one. The only one I wasn't sure about was the comedy one, but no, I did lose that one. But I thought the sci-fi one was going to be close, and he got the point on that. Jacob was a hell of a fighter today. Threw in some really good counters, even in that 90s actor one when he misread the question. He threw up some really good counters that I had to think on my feet for. So really, really tough fight. And once again, I have to do it in a speed round.
Well, for sure. Both of you guys are champions, so definitely an interesting fight between you. So Joe, as the currently undefeated champ of TV fights, I'm sure you're wanting to continue to make a run for a belt, and that's exactly what you will be doing. As your next opponent.
Really fun. I'm really looking forward to this.
All right, and so with that, we will go ahead and wrap up the match tonight. Joe has his match set to move one step closer towards that belt. Jacob is getting in his car and going home, but there's no sadness overall here tonight. We'll go ahead and run around the horn really quick, and everyone can plug themselves. We'll go ahead and start on my right-hand side. Amari, where can people find you?
I was muted. When I get back, because I've had some things to deal with real life, y'all can find me at Yuri Reviews, URIRUVIEWS. Sorry, I don't feel like writing it down. And yeah, all over these fan leaks. Yeah.
All right, Asher, plug yourself.
That sounds really wrong. I am on the fan leagues here as a judge and as a competitor. Have really nothing going on, so I'm going to try to judge some matches and try to compete, but that's about it.
All right, our winner tonight, Joe Fairley. Where can people find you?
Find me Twitter at Joe Ed Farrelly. You find me on Letterboxd. You can find me all over the fan leagues as well, trying to compete and win titles and try and defend my late TV fights belt very soon.
Jacob, if you want to try and talk while driving.
I am very talented. I can do that. You can find me all over TMG Entertainment. Joe might be the champion, but I run late TV fights, so he's only the champion as long as I say so. But I also help out and partake in some of the other leagues. I might be a champion in one of those leagues. We'll see. Just kidding. This is happening after Scratch and Claw 2. I'm a champion in a league. That still is fun to say sometimes.
It's good. It is good.
All right, and we'll go ahead to the top corner. Raptor Master, where can people find you?
Okay. You can find me at TMG also, and I'm ahead of one of the sports balls right here, which currently right now just had their championship match a couple weeks back, and that's pretty much it. And just want to say you can find me around on Twitter and Instagram at JPET1098, and also on our Facebook at Jonathan Peck. So that's it.
And you guys can find me on Instagram at Aaron T. Knoll, back here hosting all types of different matches and hopefully getting my wish and competing in Movie Battleground once again. For everyone here and the people at TMG Entertainment, my name is Aaron Knoll. This has been Movie Battleground, and we will see you guys next time.